will do my best to stick to that 4 minutes. It's pretty hard to do that, being that I've never spoken before a crowd before. I'm nervous. No. Mr. Chairman and my fellow First State Republicans, I rise with great honor. I rise to place in nomination the name of the next United States Senator from Delaware. He is a man of integrity. He is a man of dependability. He is a man who has already served the unity of this party well. He is a concerned citizen and not a career politician. As a boy, he shoveled coal in Reading, Pennsylvania, row houses where his mother raised 4 children by herself. He graduated from high school and there, 3 days later, went to work in a steel mill. It was tough, gritty work, but it was work, and his paycheck helped pay the bills at home. He went to college and when not at the mill, and a few years later came to Delaware. As he likes to say, he was not lucky enough to be born in Delaware, but he got here as fast as he could. He worked for DuPont, finished his degree in electrical engineering, and is a proud Blue Hen alumnus. At the age of 29, he started his own engineering business, working off of his kitchen table. 30 years later, that startup business is still thriving and over the years has supplied jobs for hard-working Delaware families and made products America wants. And a young engineer who started that business has developed expertise gained from hands-on experience in developing energy resources. Mr. Chairman, my fellow Republicans, he will proudly be the only member of the United States Senate who has actually worked on an offshore oil platform. Along the way, he was lucky enough to be married. Along the way, he was lucky enough to marry a wonderful woman, a nurse, now a nursing professor, who keeps him grounded. And today alone, with their daughter and son-in-law, they will enjoy 2 robust grandchildren who you are likely to meet this weekend. My friends, Washington has failed. It is broken to the 9th degree. It cannot and will not be fixed by tweeting around the edges. Congress needs wholesale change, and we, you, I, are the only ones who can change it. The system works for the career politician in Washington, but it does not work for the hard-working families of Delaware. These are the families that cannot take the kids out for pizza on a Friday night because the money for that went into the gas tank. These are the families that will skip the long weekends at Delaware beaches this summer because they need to save every last penny out of fear that their jobs may disappear in the crush of regulatory overkill. These are the families, Mr. Chairman, who must deal with grocery prices going up almost weekly while their pay envelopes stagnate or even goes down. And what do career politicians like Tom Carper do in response? I'm glad you asked. Career politicians like Tom Carper vote to kill the Keystone Pipeline. Career politicians like Tom Carper voted to block American workers from producing own American oil to keep our troops, our money, and our jobs at home. Career politicians like Tom Carper voted to spend $1.1 trillion on stimulus programs that does not work. Career politicians like Tom Carper pipe dreams about green jobs saving America while taxpayers supported soda gas and Fisker, while work crashed and burned because they cannot compete with every taxpayer's subsidies, and then we taxpayers pay again. The crony capitalism of Washington, my friends, and its backroom ways must end, and it must end now. The U.S. Treasury is not a tip jar for the friends of Washington politicians. As we speak, Tom Carper is collecting his taxpayer-supplied paychecks for 35 years. 35 years. Just to make sure everybody understands what I'm talking about, before Chase Utley was born, before Dr. J was an NBA rookie, and days before old Jimmy Carter became president, Tom Carper was on the payroll. The only way, my friends, the only way to end Washington's crony capitalism, the only way to put an end to Congress' broken ways of historical failure, the only way to force Congress to live by the same value that the Delaware family lived by, the only way to do that is change the people in Congress. But Delaware families have a voice. For the solid values of Delaware families to return to Congress, we need to send someone to Washington who embodies those values. Someone who knows what it's like to shovel coal from a house and get it warm. Someone who knows what it's like to get gritty on a job. Someone who has the courage to start a small business. Someone who actually creates jobs in the free enterprise world. Someone who understands how to develop American energy resource and make American gasoline cheap again. Someone who will be Delaware's voice in Washington to end the crony capitalism and put a lid on the tip jar. Well, before I end, I want to tell you who that someone is. Delaware Republicans, today is your lucky day. We have that person. We have that family man. We have that small businessman. We have that job creator. We have the energy expert. We have the real person and experience to solve the problem. His name is Kevin Wade, and he is our next United States Senator from Delaware. You hear? Thank you.
That has to be the most entertaining 4 minutes of my life. You know, I'm going to go off script for just 1 second, but after that preaching, it's time to pass the collection plate. Now back to business. Chair recognizes General Hank McCann for a seconding speech. A 2-minute seconding speech.
How would you like to follow him? Jeez. What he said. Mr. Chairman and fellow delegates, it is with great pride and enthusiasm that I rise to second the nomination of the man who will finally force Tom Carper to find a job in the private sector. Kevin Wade. After 37 years of military service, my love of country is stronger than ever. That is why it has been hard to watch our country sink under the weight of policies Tom Carper has been supporting for 35 years. Policies that have put our nation $15 trillion in debt to fund a government that gives us in return the crony capitalism of Solyndra. Policies that give us government bureaucrats at the GSA who think nothing of spending taxpayer money to live the high life in Las Vegas, while the rest of us are trying to provide for our children and grandchildren. Kevin Wade's whole life stands in stark contrast to the folks running Washington today. I have helped run a small business for 25 years. In Kevin Wade, I find a man who knows what I know, who knows what it takes to build a successful business in the private sector, who knows how government regulation puts barriers in the way to being successful. In Kevin Wade, I find a man who wants to be Delaware's voice in Washington, not a mouthpiece for Washington insiders. I believe by the end of this campaign, the people of Delaware will realize that there is no change in the ways in Washington without changing the people who are there. I believe the people of Delaware will realize that Kevin Wade will bring a breath of fresh air to the tepid air around the Capitol now. I firmly believe they will elect Kevin Wade as Delaware's next United States Senator. Thank you very much.
Thank you, General McCann, and thank you for your service to our country. Chair will now recognize John Rollins for the purpose of yielding the floor to Miguel Perez Fabar for the purpose of seconding a name and nomination for the U.S. Senate.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and it is a good morning. Unlike most of you, I'm Cuban-born and I'm an American by choice. I didn't make my choice out of necessity, but after years of steep in the unique American culture, I learned that this is really the land of the free and the home of the brave. We have a unique constitution and history as a foundation. I have lived under a military dictatorship, Fulgencio Batista's, and under a communist dictatorship, Fidel Castro's. And I do not wish my children or grandchildren to grow under godless socialism and socialism that forces mediocrity. They have policies that attack the family and religion and undermine the character of the American nation. Now, we patriots are here in Rehoboth to restore our nation to a constitutional rule of law. We are here to rebuild our economic strength in the world, and we are here with unapologetic pride in being the land of the free and the home of the brave. We are rising to restore faith in our own people, men and women, who understand that to trust in God is to mean to a path of righteousness. And we are here to assure that political rule cannot be allowed to rest in those for personal gain and power. We're here to oust the incumbent, who will remain nameless. He who uses his position to feed at the trough for over 30 years in total disregard of the best interests of we the people of this state and of this nation. Today we have a decent and able man who has answered the call to public service. A man who has risen from hardscrabble beginnings, worked in a steel mill, and through persistent dedication and an engineering degree, and a job in Delaware with DuPont. A man who became an expert about solving problems in the production continuum and much sought consultant operating his own firm. Kevin Wade is well aware of how and why are jobs created, salaries are paid, and obligations met in the U.S. and around the world. A man who knows budgets are made to operate within one means and kept through effort and vigilance. A man with the integrity not to cheat and the knowledge and experience not to be fooled by anyone. A citizen patriot willing to serve in the interest of his country and to represent the needs and wishes of we, the people of Delaware. I am proud to nominate our next senator from the first state of Delaware, Kevin Wade.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a nominee for the United States Senate. Are there any further nominations?
Move the nomination to be closed. Second.
Seeing none, there's a motion to close nomination and a second. All in favor of closing nominations, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. We have a nominee. But before we do that, we need to follow the rules. So since there's only one nominee, according to Rule 619 of the Republican Party, I'll entertain a motion to endorse Kevin Wade as our party's nominee for the office of United States Senate from Delaware.
So moved.
Moved by Dave Gillespie, seconded by John Rollins, and a host of others, mostly from Sussex County. Thank you very much. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. All those who want to see Kevin Wade elected United States Senator from Delaware, say aye. Aye. Mr. Wade, come forward, please.
My name is Kevin Wade. It's a short name, and it's easy to remember. I am thrilled and very proud to be your candidate for the United States Senate. Today completes the first leg of a journey, the first leg of a long journey. And I'd like to point out my lovely bride of 34 years. Gail, would you please stand? I don't have a script to read from, so I'll read from the script of my life for a few minutes. My wife is a professor of nursing, a tenured professor of nursing. She's an expert in what she does. I'm an engineer. I run a small business. I've gone around the world fixing the toughest problems put before me. And yet recently I hear friends of the White House disparage stay-at-home moms. Well, let me speak from my heart and tell you the truth. For every job I've taken, for times I've worked at the equator and at the edge of the desert and in distant places and by myself and 7 days a week, there is no job as difficult as being a parent. You know this, I know this, and we're going to bring family values and a focus on what's important to the future of our children back into the forefront We're going to honor parents, not disparage parents. We're going to rebuild what's valuable in this country. Because what we have now doesn't work. I know work. I know jobs. I did shovel coal into the furnace of that row house I grew up in Pennsylvania. I did go to a steel mill 3 days after finishing high school, and I was glad for the work. And through all of that, I knew this was a great country, a boundless opportunity. I came to Delaware as a stranger. I made a life. I've come to know the good people of the first state, my friends, my neighbor, my grandchildren now. This has always been a wonderful country. I started a business on a kitchen table, not knowing what I was getting into. And I knew it was a wonderful country. I've grown that business. I've met the needs of customers. I've lent a hand in the Republican Party to bring a conservative voice to the Republican Party, bring common sense to the people of Delaware. And I've always known this is a good and wonderful country. The difference between my views and the views of my opponent is I know the simple goodness of the common folks, the common sense that together will solve the common problems of this nation. The best people in America are not in Washington. They're in this room. They live on your street. They're in our neighborhoods. And we have to bring common sense back to Washington. Now, I've traveled up and down the state and given many remarks. And I've learned that the secret of a good speech is a strong beginning and a clear ending and a very short distance in between. Our work begins today. This is not just a celebration of democracy and a recognition of people who have served the Republican Party and our beliefs. This is a work day for all of us. And I'm going to ask you, my friends, I want to see 50 hands raised that would take a yard sign home for yourself. 50 hands raised right now to take a yard sign home for yourself and one for a neighbor to help get the message out. Okay, at the end of today, go back there and get those yard signs. I want to see 25 hands go up that will hold an open house, a meet and greet, to allow me and my good family to meet your family and your neighbors so that we can carry this message of common sense. Please, thank you very much. Thank you very much, John Sherman. We have so much to do. Our time is short. Our time is short, but today our country is in an abyss. The work of 12 and 13 generations, the sweat and sacrifice all the way back to the beginning, has run through the bad hands of Washington like water through open fingers. It's time for us, we the people, to stand up and pick up this nation one more time, carry it on our shoulders through this abyss, and set it on a firm and healthy ground. And that's what we must do. The future of this nation is at stake. We can either sit and watch what happens as the final page closes on America, or you can join me and pick up a pen and we'll write the first page in a new chapter of an America that has prosperity for all, no one left behind, energy independence, millions of jobs, and a bright future for all of us. God bless you and God save the United States of America.